Good morning, Lakeview. It is not very sunny or summery outside today as we record. Hopefully when you watch this, it will be, but we are excited to be with you anyways, and got a few things to tell you about. But before we do that, we always kind of like to reflect back on Sunday, what we talked about, share a little bit how we're working through that, and hopefully inspire you to keep thinking about the passage we talked about on Sunday morning. So we talked about King Herod and how he wasn't really a king, and we gave all that background. Go back and watch if you don't remember. But one of the things that I mentioned was that there's often we are all in a situation where we're like Herod was, where he's puzzled, he's perplexed, he doesn't know really what to do. And so where Herod went wrong is he tried to stay in that place. He didn't take that opportunity, those opportunities when we are puzzled by something, to ask the questions we need to do the research we need to do in order to move on, because often we're being confronted with a way we view the world that's not quite lining up with reality. And so are we going to figure out what it means for us to align with reality, or are we going to just try to sit there, or are we going to reject it, and just go on living in the way we see things? So the question is, what are moments that you find yourself, and I'll go first because I'm asking the question and give you guys a little bit of time to think about it, but what are the times that you find yourself in those moments of puzzlement? And so I mentioned that I was on that cliff, at the beginning of a rock climb, and I was trying to work through my fear, right? And my mind said I could do it. My body said, or my fear or whatever. Maybe it was my body could do it and my mind. Anyways, there was something going on there where I was really afraid to do it. But then when I finally did it, it was no problem, right? So other times when I find myself in a moment of puzzlement, it's mostly when I don't really know what to do. I feel like I just don't have enough information, or even in a state of overwhelm. That's times when I find myself puzzled or perplexed, or when I start getting anxious or whatever. And so what I need to do is, so the answer is, what do you do, or what would you wish you did? So what I wish I did more often is pray right away and recognize it's okay. This isn't the thing that is going to be the end of the world for me. Well, if it is, I'll be with the Lord anyways, but he's got it all under control, right? And it's okay. So then calm down and then ask the questions I need to, do the research I need to. That's what I wish I did. What I normally do is get really frustrated, and that kind of comes out of my family. So how about one of you guys? What do you find yourself in? Or?
I'm trying to remember, was it me or was it somebody else that, this was like I had to behead somebody and my wife didn't like him. No, wait, that wasn't me.
I hope that wasn't you.
Dear deacons, I write to you today with concerns.
And that's kind of like, obviously mine definitely was not as big as Herod's or whatever. Mm-hmm. Also, mine wasn't necessarily life and death, but like I think about when I graduated high school and I knew I wanted to do something and I didn't know what that was, and so I kind of just slumped into a day job, and I'm like, I don't know, and it was okay. I didn't really make a lot of money. I didn't keep a lot of money. I didn't make a lot of plans. I didn't do it wasn't a very productive time in my life. And then there kind of came this moment where, like, you know what, something needs to change. So after 1 year of working in that, something needs to change. So I actually just quit. I put in my notice and I went to camp to be a camp counselor, or not camp counselor, a director. No, counselor that year. And then and it was at camp where I heard a sermon on Jonah, where God is saying, okay, I would like you to go over here. It's actually not that hard of a job. And if you don't go that direction, in a lot of ways, you're kind of like running in the opposite direction. So what are you going to do? So it kind of felt like God was leading me through all these different things of going to Bible school, and I said, because I didn't want to become a pastor. I didn't want to go that route. So so it was kind of like an indecision for almost a whole year, and then it was like, okay, we're going.
What was that final? You find that you tried to stay in that space. What was the final thing that made you decide? How did you?
There was a lady who kind of just came to me and said, "Hey, I actually feel God's speaking to me to tell you He has something big planned for you, and you need to just go for it." And oh, by the way, my husband actually also works at Briarcrest. Oh. And like I had already gotten this Briarcrest pamphlet that year before and hadn't even thought about it, and like it just, there was so many different reasons to go there, and
that was the final straw.
Did she by any chance say that to 10 other people because Briarcrest needed students? Just out of curiosity.
Maybe no, but like it just felt like that was actually where God was leading, and I didn't want to go.
And this lady kind of,
So she kind of just said.
Was she someone that was important to you, or that you had respected it? Or?
No, I just met her that week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's amazing how God does that sometimes, hey?
Yeah.
How about you, Kevin? Or how about you, Kevin? Chris?
I know I was away this last weekend. So
yeah, we really missed you.
I've already forgotten me.
You've been replaced.
I want to first say that two things based on what I heard you guys say. One, I'm very glad for you, Kevin. The last time you had any indecision was like 20 years ago. Yeah. Very happy for you. No, I know that's just maybe the easiest one to talk about. And Jeff, you could just not climb a cliff. Like that's totally on the table at any moment. You could just
I tell you,
that's fine.
In my head, it was a perfect illustration, so I was pretty excited about
I think it's a great illustration.
Yeah.
I do.
You know what? I find breakfast, I find that one of the hardest decisions to make. Because I would often just coffee, and I'll get on with my day. Oh, but eggs. Oh, no, cereal, because we have to drink up that milk, but I don't want to. There's way too many decisions. Fruit would be better.
I have almost the same thing for breakfast every day. One, because I need food to make decisions. And so it's like I would be there. It's kind of like you need coffee to make coffee. It's just horrible. It's just horrible. So I fumble through that, and then I eat the same thing pretty much every day, because otherwise I would still be standing in my kitchen going, "What should I eat?" A few things. Here's what I found. Moments when I've had the hardest struggle with figuring out where to go, what to do, kind of those big questions of life, I have rarely struggled with, and I think that is because preparation leads us so that when we are faced with which way to go, it's easier to confidently choose one. And I probably in those moments, though, didn't realize it. I think that's just kind of the wisdom of looking back on, I don't want to sound old, but looking back on the last few years, right? Not my whole, obviously I have a lot of life ahead, hopefully, maybe, I don't know, who knows what this afternoon will bring. But I look back on, so one I will talk about is about, 15 years ago, when we were trying to decide whether or not to accept the job offer that Lakeview had. And it was I guess it was a little before that, right? It was that we were down the road of the application process and beginning face-to-face interviews, or maybe we had just come out for a face-to-face interview. And it was sort of what do we do? Do we stay? We didn't have a settled ministry environment yet, but we knew there would be lots of opportunity. There was other things out there. We're is this the one we lock in on? And probably the time I've had the clearest sense of God's leading and direction was just the encouragement, the nudge that He was like, "I'm with you, whatever you do." Whether you go or don't go, whether you choose something else, I'm with you no matter what. And I think, though, looking back on it, that confidence to know that God was with me was because every day of my life I spend time in his presence, and I know that we are together. And it's because of that then when there's those big, now that doesn't mean there's not other big things we've had to sort out or decide, as the years go on, but it's a lot easier to act and make quick decisions when you know that God's with you, no matter what. And so that's probably what sort of comes to my mind as I think about times of indecision and struggle and difficulty. But
Yeah, and that kind of raises a point that it sounds like because you were walking with God, you had chosen that path, which Herod hadn't, right?
Right.
But because you were, you knew that he was giving you the freedom in that circumstance.
Yeah.
I'll be with you here, or I'll be with you here. Sometimes he gives us that, right?
Yeah.
For Herod, it was like, accept me or not. But yeah, for us who follow the Lord, a lot of times there's so much freedom in there, which is really great.
There's an incredible, huge play field of what it means to follow Jesus. I think, and this is part of what was coming up in an alpha discussion I was having last night. Sometimes we approach the life of faith and we can get locked in on all the things we're told not to do, right? Don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. And because of that, we get so focused on that, we miss all the freedom we have in Christ to do so much for him.
Oh, I know.
And when we train ourselves to focus on what's open, sometimes for some people that can be paralyzing. I do think, like, Malcolm Gladwell has written about the paralyzing nature of abundant choices, right? And I totally resonate with that. That's probably why I have the same thing for breakfast every day, because there's too many choices in my house.
Like try and find a movie some days for us, and you just scroll.
Right. No, lots of people have spoken about the hour spent just scrolling Netflix, and it's like, okay, exactly. So, but when we see the playing field not just as these overabundance of options, but as a great, opportunity to walk with God, to, have some fun and some joy and service and whatever in all of life. It's a huge opportunity and advantage. I kind of likened it last night to bowling, right? When you're bowling, if you focus on the bumpers or you focus on the gutters, if you're playing with little kids, you probably have bumpers up, which is whatever, just wing the ball and have fun. But if you're focused on the gutters, you're going to hit the gutters, right? And if we're just focused on what God says not to do, we're going to keep bumping into that. But when we focus on the pins and where we want to go, and we're focused down lane, then we have some fun.
Yeah, and in that, you don't have 10 options because you can't get to all 10 pins, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4, like maybe 6 options right there.
I'll throw it hard enough, you'll hit it. That's my motto.
And so, but just thinking about, the whole analogy you've set up, this whole playing field, how do you make the decision? Well, there are good decisions and there are better decisions. So what would best follow Jesus? That center pin, right? So so we can narrow down those decisions sometimes, but that doesn't mean that if we don't choose that best all the time, that God's not with us, but he does give us a playing field. And our journey is to closer and closer follow where Jesus is, right?
Absolutely.
And so,
absolutely. And in Canada, we bowl 5-pin, but that's another thing.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right. But doesn't the bowling
there's 10
both?
pin
Yeah, okay.
The American influence is infiltrated. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
No, we used to cross the border just to play 5-pin, so
5 pin's a different beast. Anyways.
So that's kind of a little reflection on Sunday. Hopefully that inspires you to be thinking a little bit about what the Word means to you that we talked about. So a couple things to bring to your attention. Can you tell us a little bit about Saturday?
So this Saturday is the celebration of life for Russ Ellis, our dear friend who, after battling for years with a lot of health issues and right here at the end, a lot of cancer issues, went to be with the Lord. And so we're celebrating his life this Saturday, and I think it is going to be a very joyous celebration. There's going to be a lot of stories, more than anything. So it's Saturday at 2. There will be a live stream as well, just especially for extended family that just can't make it here, especially from the Ellis family. And so that's available for you as well too. But if you're wanting to send any flowers or cards or anything like that, they are kind of directing you actually toward to giving towards GAIN. So if you go to evertonrust.com, you will actually see Russ's obituary there. And at the bottom of that page, you'll see a link to a fund that's been set up to build a whole well. That's the goal. That money would come in for sure right now, but even as time goes on, that money would trickle in, and that through even just this celebration, that there would be an entire well that would be built for water relief around the world as well too. So yeah, you can check that out.
Thanks. Yeah. Just want to remind you to keep filling up those baby bottles. We will keep that bottle. What do we call it? Baby bottle brigade
Yeah.
going until Father's Day. And just to close, can you tell us a little bit about May Camp? You said you were gone this weekend. We didn't elaborate, so tell us a little bit.
Normally what happens at May Camp stays at May Camp. But as you well know, Jeff, having been there many years. No, May Camp is a celebration of life and ministry amongst our NAB youth ministries. And so we had youth groups from as far north as Terrace and as far south as Richmond all come together. And it's great. We had like 145 of us gathered at Green Bay last weekend. And it's pretty fun when this like bus rolled in from the north and just unloaded a huge crowd of people. And we're like, I smell brakes. And sure enough, like, it was one of those classic youth group moments where there's like, oh yeah, someone arrives with bus issues. It just happens every year. Someone's but they've made it and it got fixed and they were confident and safe to be on the road home again. Got a note last night that the terrace group just got home like yesterday evening, just before 6 o'clock. So it's a big 2-day journey for them. And then I get home from Monday afternoon and I just opened Castanet and I'm like, oh, it's like just traffic on the Coquihalla was not moving. I'm like, oh, that stinks.
I was caught in that one year.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, took us 8 hours to get home.
Yeah, Chilliwack's like 3-hour drive normally.
And other people had to keep going to Vancouver.
I know. People. We had. There's a few there from Ebenezer Baptist in Vancouver. We had Bethany in Richmond. There's a good group from like Surrey, North Delta area, and all over. And so it's just fun. It's fun for many reasons. One, it's because a lot of these other youth ministers are not just brothers in Christ, but friends, right? Like we connect, once or twice over the year. We get to know each other. Some of them have been part of May Camp a very long time, in our association a long time. Some are fairly new, and it's all good. Like one guy he just joined his church, like he's part of the church, but he just stepped into a youth ministry role like a couple months ago. Like he's like brand new at all this. And so it's fun. And then we have I think one of the things that's really cool is there's volunteer youth leaders who come with their youth group, right? They've been serving in the youth ministry however many years, and they have been serving many, many years. And, it's like, oh yeah, I remember you from, like 10 years ago when you've been coming every year with your youth group. And that's really cool. That, it's one thing to talk about the youth pastors of our association and all the work they do, which is awesome, but all of the dozens and dozens of volunteer youth leaders who serve week after week after week in their spare time, who have been loving teens and just investing in their lives. Like you think of the thousands of hours of investment that go on into the lives of teenagers by volunteers, and it's just incredible. And so it's really fun just to come together, pack out the Green Bay Chapel, worship together. And on top of that, it was just fun to be back at camp. Even they told us that we're the largest group they've had since COVID started. Yeah. Because even when they've had camps last summer, they weren't able to be run at capacity. Yeah. So it was pretty great to be part of all that. That's great. It was a fun weekend and a good weekend. So that's what I was up to.
Yeah.
And
you're the coordinator.
I'm
the
part
main
of the
guy,
team
yeah?
of coordinators.
Yeah, team coordinator, yeah.
I am in the association, in our NAB association in BC, kind of the point person for youth ministry to kind of pull people together and do that. And so, and that's fun. I don't, we joke with Jeff about all this stuff he has to do as the newbie. I'm in the opposite end of things. And so they're like, yeah, you're the old guy.
You're the old guy.
You're the old guy.
Come to you to figure everything out.
So unfortunately, the old guy doesn't get you a better bed or it doesn't get you like earlier bedtime or anything like that. I'd have loved to have been like, hey, I'm old. Can I eat dinner at 4:30? No, there's none of that. Or just you go for it. But it's all good. It's great.
That's great. My kids were there too. Both my boys were there, and they really. Jack even said yesterday, "Oh, I wish I was still at May Camp." And so,
Yeah, we heard really good stories.
Yeah.
Lots of fun times. And lots of connections that throughout the years of going through youth group, the more May Camp happens, the more you'd be like, I remember that guy.
Yes.
He came back every year
Yeah.
and he lives in this town or that town. And that's a really good step-by-step approach to even ministry and everything that you do. Like, we're in different cities. We're different places, different lives, everything. But then you come together and you're like, oh, I remember those guys, and they're doing the same thing that we're doing in their own city, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. You can build friendships with other youth in other cities who, their life's a little different, but there's so much overlap and similarity. It's also, one of the things I really appreciate about the weekend too is that it has changed over the years. It has grown. It is much more of a partnership with Green Bay now, and they're very much like, hey, we want to host you. They are have expressed so much just their love for what the association does, being our BC NAB camp, but. We basically just rent it out and then say, hey, can you do this and can you do this and can you do that? And the camp is always like, yes.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
And then and what's on top of it is we leave a lot of time just to build intentional relationship with our youth.
Yeah.
And so it's great for that. So lots of time 9 Square, lots of time just playing cards and hanging out, lots of time on the beach, lots of time just for whatever. Just to kind of
That's great.
do what you do. And so it's been good.
Well, we hope you have a great week. Remember Saturday at 2:00 for Russ, and then we'll see you Sunday morning. God bless.